Hello, I'm noirnerd, and if you've been paying any attention to this channel for the last, few months, you'll have seen that I've been working on this game engine / framework for A-Frame for creating 3D interactive fiction / adventure games. So this has progressed quite a lot over the last few weeks. I've been working on it a lot more. It's not finished yet, but I wanted to sort of do a test, not a tutorial at this point, but a run through of how I'd actually make some environments, add some characters, add some dialogue, etc, just to demonstrate the sort of workflow, I suppose, of how it will work. And I stress this isn't the final workflow, but I thought it'd be worth showcasing it just to get some feedback from people, basically, on ease of use, what could be better, what was sort of working. So this is just something I made earlier, just to start off. You've got to pick up a blue key, move around a bit. Now parts of it may be broken. We're going to make, I'm just going to showcase this, and then we're going to make our own from scratch. Just like interactive objects. We're going to make something completely new from scratch. Talk to this guy a bit. We're going to make probably like 1 or 2 scenes, maybe 3, and see. And I'm just going to sort of demoing how you do that in the map editor, which is here. So the map editor is a separate tool used for creating the maps that we can then play in the game, with the different options here for painting different objects, etc, prefabs and characters, yada yada yada. Anyway, without further ado, I think I'll just crack on with this now. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to create a new repo. I'm going to create a clone of the existing one, and I think when the actual process for creating these games will be actually very similar to this, I think, because I think that's what I want to do. I want to do it so that I might download the zip actually. I'd usually probably git clone it, because I just don't want there to be any conflict because I've already got this repository on there. I could fork it, I suppose. Might just fork the input. Yeah, just fork it. So and I'll put test. That's me. Just put test. Then I'll fork it. Then I'll clone it. Oh. Okay. I'll just do what I was doing before. Download the zip. So what we're going to do first. So this is the repository for the entire engine, and I'm going to talk. This is going to be a fairly long video. It'll probably be about half an hour long at least. So strap in for that. But I'm going to download the repository. This has got like a bunch of, essentially, the entire way that you build things is using the map editor and editing the config files for what models you want to load in, what textures you want to load in. I'm going to do this all from scratch now in this version, just to showcase that aspect of it, because I'm not sure if it was that clear in the other videos, to show that you can customize the models for the characters, customize the models for the sound, the textures, everything can be customized. With sound, you probably have to be a bit careful because there's certain sounds that are triggered, so as long as you keep the file names the same, it's actually fine. I probably won't touch that too much, so it's a bit pointless. Textures, obviously, I'll go into modifying them, yada yada yada. This is still downloading. It's probably going to be quite big because of all the textures. But yeah, basically, we're going to go over doing the configurations, then adding the maps. and I'll just talk at each stage about every part of how it currently functions. Like I said, it isn't completely finished. I've been doing a lot of work on it recently, so you've got all this here. It's tons of work for the last few days and weeks. I've been working on a branch for physics as well, but that's like what it is. That's just like an experimental branch. I'm not sure if it'll get completely done yet. I'm not even sure if it'll get completely integrated. Just wait for this. It's taking its time. Taking its sweet time. You can sponsor this project if you want. I do definitely appreciate that. So a sponsorship page is somewhere. But yeah. And I'll also be going through creating the dev builds, because there is quite a bit involved in that. You have to generate a key, blah blah blah. It's usually pretty easy. Just go install. It's like the standard npm for installing. And we'll also cover doing the builds as well. So you can run a build, and that installs the Electron. This has taken ages. It's because of all the 3D models, which I'll actually strip out. In fact, usually when this actually is finished, there will probably be a few test models in there we go, it's done, in the repository, but this is like so get this on screen. So I just copied the code, the source code for the engine, all of that, or what will be like this sort of template. And I'm going to go to dev. I'm going to go to my dev folder. I'm going to create a folder called Papyrus3D test. And I'm just going to put all the files in here. I'll extract that from here. I'll open it up. VS Code. Right, so just extract all these. Now, obviously, like I said, this isn't the final tutorial documentation video. It's just like a sort of test run of it. But essentially, you'd either do that or you'd git clone or fork if you're going to do this properly, like when it's actually finished. But the basic end result of this is the same. You just get those files in the cloud on your local computer. Okay, so all those files copied now. That's all here, and I'm going to go to my VS Code, and I'm currently in the main sort of like local working directory. So now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to open this. I know that I'm not going to set up any source code or anything because I just don't want to create this conflict. Okay, so now I've got the files here. Let's have a look. We've got the README here. This describes Papyrus.json, which is mostly for the Electron stuff, which we do need to set up, obviously, so we'll do that in a minute. So we've got in our Papyrus.json, we've got post install dev, which is quite useful. We use that quite a lot. So that's for setting up a local server for testing. The start boots up a little Electron window so we can test it out in Electron. Pack, and then the Electron Builder just does a dist npm run dist, creates a distribution build for Windows of our game, and then this is just a load of config settings for that part of it. So this bit here, which is the sort of like outer part of the directory, is all tied in with creating the builds. Most of the files we actually use are in public. So this is where most of it is. I've got an ignore there as well, of course, like default. But this is all our prefab config files. all the config files. This is where most of the action happens. Asset loading, we actually do. So I do want to improve this really, but I'm not sure if I can. So basically, for loading up like models, we still have to use the asset manager with A-frame and this index.html file, which is where everything actually loads up. We've explained this a bit before. So you get like loading your textures here with IDs, and then we'll specify them in the JSON as well. I'm not 100% sure if that's the best way of doing it, but at the minute it does work. So sort of kept it in there. You've got sounds and effects and stuff. Those are just basically placeholders for when we need to use them in the actual engine, but we do need them there. And this is just, again, stuff you'll never touch. But yeah, these characters and enemy, so these are just references to models, and then we can add our own scaling and stuff. Tools is where the map editor lives. Never have to touch that or customize that. If you are using the Papyrus3D, textures is a bunch of custom textures. Yada yada yada. So, first things first. As we're starting this, we're doing this as a new project. Let me just check I'm in the right directory. Test game. There we go. So I'm going to strip out the textures, and I'm going to strip out not the gun texture though, but I'm going to get rid of all these textures. We're going to create something from scratch, so I'm just going to actually all the models will get rid of apart from the gun. Just need that. I need to strip all this stuff out anyway. And then I'm going to go, might keep the prefabs in, but I'll get rid of a bunch of this stuff. Gun definitely needs to be in there still. Prefabs I'll keep in. Prefabs are just like objects. These things like chest and stuff like that. And I'm going to go keep that. Let's see what I can strip out. Get rid of that, get rid of that. So these are the scene folders where different scene information is basically. Models, okay, engines, just a bunch of code. Tools is the map editor, etc. So anyway, the first thing we need to do in here is run the install. So you see if that works. To do without that, I can't do any of the running the local server. Now this will probably crash when I try and run it anyway, because I've just taken out a bunch of models which will now we're still being referenced, so it will just crash unless anyway. So just run npm install on the root of the directory. Let's do this thing. See if we can get the local testing up and running, because that's the next part. So run an npm install, obviously install the no modules. Let's see if we can get npm run dev running. Let's wait for this to do its thing. There we go. Alright, good. That's all done. So there we go. We need to set up this key for local testing. So try run that, open SSL, and do that. UK. Do all this, go for all this. This sets up the key just so we can do the local testing. So that's for the, yeah, that'll help. Now let's see if we can do this. Now this will probably crash because obviously I've uninstalled. So yeah, that's good. But it is serving on a little server, so that's good. So we've got that running, which is good. That's good news. Just ignore that, it doesn't matter. Now this will probably crash because I've stripped a bunch of stuff out in terms of the assets, but it's loading. So that is a good sign. That's basically what should be happening. So that's a good start. And now I'm going to have a small break. I'll be back in a minute. So I think next thing to do is, now I've just got this up and running. Obviously it's not failing because these assets aren't there anymore. I just deleted a bunch of them. I think I'm going to put in this little fellow. Download this. This will be done in GLB format. And that's what we want. Just download it in GLB. It's already downloaded. It's quite a small file, so it's good. Got robot expressive. It's a zip file, so I'm going to copy that. Go to the directory it's in. Not that one, because that's the actual original. The test game. To mod public. To models. And I'm going to paste this guy in here. And I'm just going to extract this zip file. And this will give us that GLB file for the robot. And then we can use that guy as one of the main characters, I think. It's a good idea. I'm just going to plunk that out of here because it doesn't have to be in a folder called source. It's just going to put that there. Delete that. Delete that. There we go. Now we should have a model called Robot Expressive that we can now we'll be able to load in as a character. So let's go through that bit, and then I'll start stripping out all the dialogue as well and start talking about that. Alright, so we go to the characters.json. I'm going to get rid of these two because I'm only going to use one character in this. We've got the name, the ID, the model, and the scale. So I'm going to call this guy Robot Man, or Robot. His ID is obviously 1 because he's the first character. I'm just going to go Robot. Actually does autocomplete, I think. .glb, that's important. Let's check the casing on it. What was it? And you can change the scale, which is very useful because just Robot Expressive. So that's what file name's Robot Expressive. So do that. Robot Expressive. See your models. Robot Expressive. There it is. Now we've got that reference to that. And then we're going to go to dialogue, which is contained. Each scene has its own individual dialogue. So because you might have, more different dialogue in different scenes. Let me talk a bit about that. I mean, like I've said, expressed in a few other videos before, the basic idea is that a bit like Rempy, you've got like configs which you can customize. So this is what we're going through now. I'm just going to delete these two. These are other character dialogues which I was doing in the example I was creating in the original one. But now I'm just going to create like one dialogue for one character. So we got robot. There we go. So I had the character name. Character ID is 1 if you remember correctly. Oh, what the hell? I don't know what that's like. Robot. What the hell? The fuck is that? For some reason my keyboard's just decided that it's going to jib out completely. What the hell? Don't save that. That's weird. I've never had that happen ever in the history of anything. Okay, my keyboard's just broken. What the fuck? Okay, why? For some reason my keyboard just decided to go completely spastastic and just break and stop receiving input. I'm not sure why that happened. The joys of working with computers, I guess. Still. Fucking thing. That seems to work. Anyway, that for some reason worked. I have no idea why. All the joys of working these bloody machines. Anyway, Apologise for that outburst, just not in the mood for it. Right, so let's go. Char is the robot, is the name of the character that's displayed. We don't change the position. And we can add as many of these dialogue branches as we want. It's important that we add the char ID of 1. We've already added character ID here is 1. Beep boop, so we can say beep boop. And then second dialogue, so this is the second option thing that says hello to you. And I'll go choices doesn't actually come into play yet, but that will be something I'll be working on in the full version. But anyway, I am Robo 298. Like that. Why are you here? Something like that. I can get rid of that because there's no point having the choice there for that. And then you can add, if I wanted to, I could also add an image, a little bit of dialogue, so I can have 4. We can just go on and on and on forever basically. So we go to the object, and then you just create another like that. And you go. Give it dialogue ID of 3, so it moves onwards. I have been serving here for 80 years and I still look 20. I don't know, something random. Doesn't have to make sense really. It's just why. There we go. So save that. It's in this in passage, and these dialogues will now be associated with this character whenever we paint that character into our map. Right. Now, obviously, I've not put that character in there anywhere, so I need to put that in. Some of this stuff needs to go. So we've got this. I'm going to put in. It's going to be hello robot. And we have to like basically create a reference to this guy, robot expressive. Now, I'm not sure if there's any way to get around this. Basically, so if any models you add in, you have to add a reference in the HTML. I did an experiment earlier with just doing this with an automated script that basically just adds anything that you need to add, but it ultimately wasn't working, I don't think. So got the gun in there, we need that. All the music stuff stays. All this stays. Let me just save that. Okay. So I'm not going to mess around too much with that. Basically, I just added in the robot reference now. It should work. It should help the loading. Interactions. I'll just change some of this. This is very similar. This is basically the same actually as. Yes, save it. As. So. This is all more or less the same as the. Dialogue is just for when you look at objects and then it triggers an interaction. So I've got some prefabs in here, like for example, these are the prefabs we've got listed. Which are like the character model, they are just references to models that you can scale, put in, change the rotation, etc., etc. So yeah, that's that pretty much. Not much to it really. I'm going to keep just these in because I don't want to reinvent the wheel too much for this. So, maps. There may be time, I think, to start designing a map. So these are how maps are. This is what the creating room loop basically receives to render into a scene. So, why is it locked? I don't know what's up with this keyboard. It's a piece of shit. Fucking thing. Literally not working. Again. Fuck off. Don't save it. What the fuck is going on with this piece of shit? Sorry, like literally fucking. Why? Not responding. Fuck off. What the fuck? Well, anyway, let's delete that. Why? Fuck. Stupid fucking piece of shit. Well, I'm going to empty that out now. It doesn't even work with Control and S. What the fuck is this? Alright, I'm going to unplug this keyboard because it's... What? Alright. Sorry about that. It's just this fucking keyboard, man. Right. It's still plugged in. Why is it plugged in? Unplug this shit. This fuck off. Anyway, all that out of the way. That keyboard is a fucking piece of shit. It's just jibbing out every 2 seconds. Sorry, that's your entertainment quotient. But again, shadow banned by YouTube now, but it can't be fucked with a piece of shit like that. Anyway, we're going to create 2 scenes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this completely. So I'm going to get rid of scene 3. I don't think it's needed. I'm going to create some alternative dialogue. So we've got dialogue here, and I'm going to create a different one with the same character, but just to demonstrate that that's what you can do. Beep boop, bap bap bap, boop boop instead. My name is Geordie2. I appreciate free jazz. I don't know. And then we'll just make it so that he has 3 lines of dialogue instead of that. Okay. Start. So this is on the second scene. Not to confuse things too much, I'm going to delete this map because we're going to design the maps from scratch. There we go. Let's get rid of that. All this will just stay the same. We could call it, I don't know, something else, but I'm not bother. The textures will probably change just for the sake of it, because I've not changed anything for ages. So obviously water isn't going to be in the walls. Structure, there are these different texture options. Probably go with brown marble for a change. So we're going to go to the texture. So if you wanted to like change the textures on the scene, you got the floor. I'm going to go. I think I've got brown marble loaded in. Brown marble. I'm going to change that to that. So this is like changing the references for different like. So for example. The floor is this certain texture. I'll change that to grunge probably. You know, like the door, it's its own texture. Yada 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 yada. And we do have to have references to those in the index too. Key is just a key. Water, we never want to change that really. You could change it to a different texture, but don't feel there's much point. I apologise if I'm jumping around a lot. It's just quite a lot to cover. That's sort of like covering texture. So we've got bricks. But I'm going to change that to brown marble. Change that to brown marble. Grunge, orange brick, blah 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 blah. I'm going to change floor to this one. Maybe it is actually being set in here. Anyway, if it doesn't matter too much, let's get onto them. actual map creation. That's the real thing we need to get onto now. So I've cleared the map out, the data there, so we've got a clear array to just plonk in. We've got all this stuff set up now. Choices is something I'm still working on, it's not finished exactly. Bada bing, bada bosh. Long story short, ready. Now we go to this address on here. To go tools map editor. Now this is where we why can't it be reached? Is it just crashed or shut down or something? Oh, I reset it, didn't I? So npm run dev again. Open this up, open up. There we go. See, it's booting up now. I go tools map editor. There we go. Got our map editor open. So let's create a basic map. So we're going to have that robot character in here somewhere. And we're going to create some. Got all our different options here. Obviously need to place the player, so we'll do that first. Place the player there. So go to toggle player mode, and that's where you toggle in the player placement. Obviously we run with WSAD, so like a flying cam. I'm just going to paste the wall in. Just going to add some generic walls. This is like a full height wall I'm adding there. Do that a few times. Create off a squared room here. I think I'll actually add a door there too. You can add doors as well, so I'll just create a little separate room here. There we go. And I'm going to add the door. So I go to here. It's a bit awkward still. I do need to make it a bit more user friendly, but it is what it is for now. So I go. I guess door. Added that door in. Change the wall. Change it to a wall. You do have to like sort of go off canvas sometimes if you wanna. It's a bit awkward at times, but bada bing bada bosh. I think I'll add some water. So you can add some water here. So like this. Like maybe something coming through here. Through the central area, I'll have like this. Like a water, maybe a bridge there of sorts, or like two maybe. See how this looks. And then you have that going through the level. And there we go. So that's like paste. That's like create a little bit of a river through here. I think probably time now to paint this character, which is set to 1, which is what we want. Just think where to put him. So this is where we're going to put our robot. And you can go into character options here if you want to set like. There's only one character there, as it says. So there's only one. You can only add one. I mean, you can still add 2 or 3 if you wanted to, but I will eventually add an option so you cannot do that. I'm going to add the guy in here. So that's character 1. That should be where the robot is pasted, right? So we're still in character mode. Go off that. Go onto walls again. I added light. So I'm going to add a light. This is just where we plonk a point light, basically. I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to put one in here as well. There you go. So that's added a light there. It has raised that surface up. I don't know if it'll actually change it. I'm not sure. It's something I've never done before. And I'm going to add an exit because I want to create 2 separate. I'm going to create the exit here, which I think will work. Obviously, this is still, like I've said before, like in progress a bit. And finally, we'll add prefab with some interactions. So let's do that somewhere over here. Look at our prefab options, which are here. We've got like chest, computer, switchboard, clock, table. So I think I'm going to add a chest with. So if I go, what number would that be? That's just the first one. So I think it's prefab number 1. Maybe even 0. Possibly 0. I'll try this out. I'm not sure if it'll work, but then the interaction for that is number 1. So it's there. Object chest. I think it's 1 maybe. Like I said, a lot of this is, so I've ticked toggle prefab trigger interaction. Now that should add that. So that adds, that's telling the engine to add the prefab of number 0 and then trigger the interaction 1, which is the one I just looked at before. Now that should add a chest, and then if I had like a table for example, I'd go, that's wrong, so that's probably why that wasn't working before. Don't know why that's like that. Table, which is number 5 I think. Let's add a 5. Get off the toggle, and then that would merely create a prefab of just without an interaction basically. So I'll put this here maybe. What are the pipes? Pipes are I think 6 and 7. So we're going to get to this, change this to 6, and then this will add a pipe. So add a pipe maybe here and a pipe here. Now I'm not sure if it's going to be the right way around, it might be wrong. Yada yada yada. Do some custom height walls. So you can do custom height walls as well, which is very useful. Like say for example if you want to customize things more, go to here, going to create these very small little raised surfaces. So like that. Like this. So there's just like smaller scaled like walled areas basically. And I can make that smaller as well, so if we go down to 2, 1, for example that, it's the smallest, I'll probably just do that instead. It's a bit less extreme. Also, I'm not exactly sure how much it scales up in the actual engine. Still some things to figure out with that. Okay, well, whatever, it's fine for now. Let me do that. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm trying to create a masterpiece here. So download the map. This is going to this import export maps. So what I'm doing here is an export. I'm just going to open it up. Yes, it's fine. And you can see now this is the array with a bunch of characters in it. And all these characters are just what we've just pasted in, and the engine understands how to interpret each one. So now, if I go here, I just need to plonk in, copy and paste that array like that. I've saved it now. Now, if I go to the main thing here, this should, all going well, load up. Just get the inspect because there might be an error or something, I might miss something, but all going well. Oh, there's a cylinder that's missing for some reason. That would crash things, so I just need to put that back in. So that's when I was being a bit too trigger happy with deleting stuff. So I just need to plug that back in. So the cylinder is basically one of the shapes you can put in, but I've not actually added it into the map editor yet. Anyway, I'll add it back now. So there we go. See, it's loaded. So now we should get. There we go. So we've got the texture we set. We've got this is the map we just created, and then we've got this chest. That's the prefab for the chest. So let's move forward a bit, and this is the map we just created. That door over there is an exit. Now obviously this is not exactly the tidiest map ever. It doesn't look completely really done, but yeah, that's the interaction. So remember we said the interaction 1, that's what's happening there. It's added the prefab for the chest, which is indexed to 0, and then when we actually look at it, it says, oh, I wonder if there's treasure in there. And it's also obviously triggering the animation that's on the chest, which is just a looping of that. These don't have any triggers on them on the pipes, so they don't trigger anything off. Say different textures. Let's go to the door. Let's go over. Should be a robot in here. Any luck? Oh, okay. Interesting. Not sure why the more or less good. Just need to check why the robot didn't load. Not sure why that's not happened. Char 1, yeah. Oh, character 1 here, haven't we? Yeah. Oh, did I save that? Maybe I didn't save it. Just check this. I'm not sure if I actually saved the character. Might have been it. Quickly run through here. Moving is done with gaze-based movement at the minute, so you can move 3 steps ahead. I'll probably take the gun off because I'm not going to be using it. Still no. It's weird. Just check. Maybe the scaling's off, possibly. So I'll just run the inspector. Just that it's very strange that the character's not there. That never really has failed before. So I just need to check that very quickly. Probably that one. Yeah, there he is. I think likely there's a problem with the model for some reason, or it's just for some reason the positioning's gone completely awry. What model path model? That's obviously wrong. I'm not sure what's happened there. I need to figure this out because it shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, something strange. Okay. I might have to just check something very quickly. Maybe I was part way from doing something on this when the version this is on, because that should just work. It's never failed before. All I can think is that I don't know. We try. Could be. Sorry, this is like debugging live. I really shouldn't be doing this when I'm supposed to be doing a sort of tutorial. But like I said, this is a sort of char 0, which might have to be at 0, but I don't think it's right. I don't think that's it at all. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that fails completely because it doesn't exist, which is what you'd expect. But then, why doesn't the robot load? Okay, I'll swap the model out because that is likely an error with the model, a mistake with something wrong with the model itself, whether it be scaling or something like that. I could try and there we go. That's where the problem lies. The problem lies in the fact that they can't find this. Probably, it could even be this stupid, like literally a casing issue. So you have to check the console when you get errors. It literally is probably that. I bet you anything. It's like it's expecting an ID and it's not getting the right thing or somewhere or such thing. I bet you anything. So if you like scroll up, it's got this annoying stuff here with it. Bet you anything is something like that. No, okay, right, what is it then? I will fast forward some of this because it's too much to watch. Where are you? There you go. Let's do one. Ah! Okay, so the robot is there. Why? So the robot does load, so you can see. For some reason, he's loading in completely the wrong place. That must be a bug. I guess with software, it's a little weird. Let's do a bug in the positioning for some reason. Let's quickly check this. This doesn't make any sense. I've never had this before. Char pause. It's very strange. So it's loading the model now. For some reason they're having some sort of mistake which I've never had with any other model of it positioning going wrong, like very badly. So it's like, I'm not sure why that's happening though, because it's never happened ever before. The joys of debugging. I'm not sure why that happens, because it's like the model actually does load, but it's like the positioning is then forced back, which is odd. Because I've not had that happen before, ever. Alright, so look. It's here somewhere. Like, if I look for. Let's see, we're going to be very boring. I'll have to fast forward some of this. Once I've figured it out all. Explain what the issue is. No, it doesn't even come up. What? There we go, so it's A entity 1. Why? Maybe get rid of this. Possibly. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, he's on a patrol. Well, I'll call it that for now. Anyway, so basically, I'll just move it there. So you get beep boop. It's running around. Then that basically, if it's unlikely to error out, he's probably going to be able to walk through the walls. But just forget that for now. He's on a patrol because I was experimenting with that before. So yeah, here you go. He's got a robot. Hello, robot man. He walks around now. Go up to him, say, how's it going, dude? Got patrol mode on, so he's just going to be walking around like this. Hello to you. So he's going to the dialogue, so we talk to him. Why are you here? So very curious robot. So that's that. Like, obviously a bit buggy, but like I said, this is a beta version of this sort of thing. He's just moving around, doing his own thing. He's been serving there for 8 years. Beep boop. Alright, let's just do another level, and that's sort of like a decent demo. It'll still walk through the walls because that's something I need to fix. But I don't actually know why the positioning crashed on that. It's a bit weird, but there you go. Everything else seemed fine. So let's do another level. So we need to do another level now. My tools map editor. We're going to just create another level. Create a bigger one actually. So let's demonstrate you can create. So we'll do a 50 by 50 level. It's a much bigger space. That's cut off, and I've known about that for a while. Like I said, this is extremely prototypal code still, so don't expect it to be perfect. Like I said, it's all like a test run through of how you'd like create a typical game, but it's in, as I said, this is extremely prototypal still. It's not the finished thing. I'm still working out tons of bugs, etc, etc. Just going to delete this, so just create rooms, delete that, create a door or something. Door. Why? Why doesn't it show a door? Oh, because the delete mode's on. There we go. Door. Creates really high, almost like skyscraper. Just like, why? Oh, custom. Still a bit, you know, not door, for God's sake. Yeah, create like a skyscraper. I want to create like an outdoor area here, maybe. We'll change the textures as well. So I think we'll try and change the textures if we can for this area. I'm going to add another robot. So I'm going to add char. I'm going to add a few actually. Turn that off. Char 1. I'm going to add a few of those robots and they'll be walking around this area. So those robots will be doing their patrol because I'm still working on that, but they will be patrolling around. They'll all say the same thing because they're all set to char 1, but that doesn't really matter. So we'll go off that now. Could add it. I'm not going to add any enemies. I'm just going to create something simple. This is an example, obviously. This is for the second level. Oh, that's 6. That's water, isn't it? That's water. Add some areas of water. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to create anything too advanced here. Just sort of demonstrating principles, as it were. There we go. And then we'll do this. Then I'll demonstrate how you can create an Electron build for it, so for it to be a Windows application. Which then, if you wanted to distribute a game that you made, once this thing is actually done, you'll be able to do it that way. And then obviously, like if you wanted to distribute it as a web game, just upload the index.html with the associated files, configuration files, and it would just work basically. Though, well, yeah, it would do because it'd be set up on a server. Right, there we go. Whatever. I'm just going to do some stuff like this. And then I'll also demonstrate keys, so I've not demonstrated that yet. So just turn this off. I'm going to toggle on key placement mode. I'm going to add a blue key, so there's a blue key here. There we go. That's a blue key for opening a blue door. Toggle that off. Key door placement, which is for creating a door which you can open. And I'll just do that here. So that adds a key. That's a blue key door. So that door there is opened by that key. That's another useful thing. In theory, you can also add yellow door, red door, etc., etc. It's not something I've had a chance to really test that much yet, but it should work. In theory, put the full height mode on again. There we go. So I'm just going to create a few more walls. 50 by 50. I am also working on an import function for importing old maps. So, like, say for example, if I was working on this, I wanted to do loads of work on it. But, you know, like I'm only like halfway through it, and I can just save it, download it, and then come back to it later. But it's early days on that, to be honest. And whatever, I'm just going to do a bunch of random stuff here. Alright, let's just download that map. Open it up. It's this one. Get rid of that. Control C. Control A, Control C. Get to map. And I'm going to plot that bad boy in here. It's like huge. It's 50 by 50 this one, so we need to change where it says height to 50 by 50, otherwise it won't work. Definitely very important. Not 250, but you could actually go to 250 if you wanted to, because it's square. The only thing that's important with the height and width is that it's square, actually. Okay, so let's just see what happens now. So we go now. I should be able to exit. I should be able to go from level 1 to level 2 with the exit that I set before in the map. So that door over there is actually an exit. So let's go. Now I should be able to transition to the next level, and that should work. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Let's just talk to this robot again. Hello, mister. He's running away. He doesn't want to talk. They should. So we should have some slightly different dialogues when we go into the next room, and we should also have multiple robos. So this should load that door. So this should now load scene 2, and we are good to go on the actual loading. And we've got a few robots, but they've all gone in the same position, which is not good, obviously. But there we go. That's basically the map. That's our mistake. That's the thing that's in the actual the second one uploaded. It didn't actually add any lighting though, so it's a bit dark as you can see because of the right. It didn't add any too much light. So it's a bit too dark. So that's that. And I'll just I don't know if I was going to go into like creating an Electron Build and talk to these guys. So you can see the dialogue slightly. They're all not in the same place here, which is a mistake. So like, obviously like I said before, this is quite buggy still, but just an idea. Okay. It's quite a big map this now, obviously, 50 by 51. Okay, well, anyway, that sort of demonstrates, you know, the creating maps, loading them in, how you do it, sort of the basics of how you create a map in theory. Obviously, it's very rough, but and like I said, this is an ongoing project, so I'm still improving tons of stuff, fixing loads of bugs. But at least it gives anyone who's interested in the project a bit of an idea. Let's do a build. So if I do, I'll show you what happens when you do npm start and what happens when you do, just close this. npm start should run an Electron. There we go. So it runs it in an Electron window here, which is sort of a demo of what it'd be like if it was running in a Windows executable Electron app. So it's the same thing again, basically, but just running in a window. Exactly the same thing. And then I think if I do npm run dist, that creates a distribution build of this that I can run on Windows, which is quite cool actually. So then I can bundle it all up, run it as an Electron app, and then it would run, and you could then put this on stores. Have it as a proper game. It's like that could run on Windows devices. So right, let's just exit that. Let's show that bit. So I'm going to npm run dist, I think is the command. Run that. Now so it's running Electron Builder. Not sure what happened there. That's a missing module. Windows, Electron Builder scroll Windows. So this did work before actually, it's a bit annoying. It's possibly just a dependency thing. That was working before. Let's look on the package.json. I'll try npm pack. I'll try that. npm run pack. That might do something. Yeah, we need to update some, download some updates, and it should work. And just package it up basically. Just wait for this to do its thing. Downloaded. I think it just needs to do some sort of. You can see there's all the Electron files, dependencies, etc. Two options, there we go. Blah 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 blah. Downloaded some binaries. And I'll try running, because I've done that now, so I'll see if this fixes that. I'm not sure why it crashed before. Usually when I run npm run dist, it was fine. Module, Electron Builder, scroll Windows. Just check that. Electron, let me just check that. That wasn't happening before. That has never happened ever. But that's the joys of let's look for this. to install this. I'll just install this dependency, I guess. I'm not sure why it's required, but if it's the npm thing, I'll just do it. It'll be safe, I'm sure. That's only on this test version anyway. But I guess I'd say I've never encountered this problem before, but apparently it's a thing. But if you encounter that, you should just, if this works, obviously, and just install that dependency, right? It looks like it's doing something a bit more clever now. Okay, it's packaging, so this is getting further than what it did before. I mean, I think last time I built it on a different Windows system, so there we go. See, it's doing something a bit more now. So if you get any messages like that in npm that say look for just the package dependency that it's referring to, see if it's on npm first. I mean, if this works, it might still fail. You know, I'm not exactly sure myself. But it should create an executable. Yeah, so it's got Papyrus3D engine set up 1.000x is what it's building, which will then create a way for me to install it locally on my Windows machine as an executable, if all goes well. I'm still waiting to see what happens. Not sure if this is still doing anything or not. It's a bit confusing actually. Is that done? Okay, so they got a file there. So I think that's actually done. So let's go here, scroll Windows, Papyrus3D engine setup 1, see if it runs. It might still be packaging, I'm not even sure. It's not very clear that it's actually finished or not. I think it's still doing its thing. Fine. Pretty sure it's still doing its thing, but it's not very clear, which is a bit annoying. Alright, okay, so it stopped there, stopped running a process, so it probably was still running a process when I did that. So let's try that. Yeah, that's much more like it. It was like 2 kilobytes before, so I was being a bit stupid there. So we got click on the setup application. You obviously change all the icons and stuff if you want to do it properly. This comes up for the booting it up. There we go. There we go. It's running as an executable now. This is running now in Windows and as an exe file. Seems to be a random texture issue. Not sure what that's about, but it has packaged it up. Oh, I'm running it twice by accident. Maybe because of that. Maybe because I booted it up twice for some reason. Not sure what that happened. But yeah, there we go. It's running in Electron. Let's just check. I'm a bit curious as to why texture issues happened. But I don't know. I haven't tested it that much really for the Electron building. But anyway, it's building now. It's built now as a Windows executable, so it's running in Windows. So you could, if this was a finished game, which obviously it is not, then you could run it as so there's some texture issue for some reason. Textures, but there you go. Not sure why that would happen actually. It's a bit random. Anyway, I mean that's obviously there's still a lot of jank going on in this. So you could just restart it. But yeah, there's obviously still a lot of jank with this. I'm still trying to make a lot of things work, but that does give you, in terms of like a broad overview of how you'd actually create a simple prototypal few maps. It gives you an idea of the process of it. That's pretty much it, really. You know, create your prefabs, add into different interactions. So yeah, if you have any ideas of Obviously there's a lot of improvements it's starting to make, like I've said them several times. It's like a prototypal project still. But if you have any ideas on what you think might be key features or interesting things to have that would be in your mind essential, then let me know. And yeah, I suppose that's about it. It's been interesting. If you're interested in this project, I'm sponsored the project too, so I am sponsored projects and also just me in general on GitHub. I'm looking for GitHub sponsorship now actually, so let's just go. I think this is my sponsor page. I don't know how to get onto it actually. It's a bit weird. I'm still getting used to it a bit, but I can be sponsored. Go to this. So this is my GitHub page. Really? Just for going onto a sponsor page I have to do this? Shit, fuck's sake. Anyway, I'm not Dr. Noir on there. You can find me if you want to sponsor my projects. And doing all of this is a passion project, and if I get sponsored I will be much more passionate about it, to be frank. So my profile for sponsorship is github.com sponsors Dr. Noir. There's a bunch of tiers, like £5 a month just for sponsor badge. You can just do a custom one if you wanted for like whatever. $25 a month, so it gives you access to private repos. $500 a month, you just use whatever. But anyway, yeah, $1,000 a month will just help you out and be a programmer for you. There's one times, and then there's this big one for like if you wanted to do some contract work for you. But I was just started experimenting with that. But anyway, that's not the purpose of this video. I hope that's been interesting. It's sort of like showcasing the early sort of days of this Papyrus3D thing, and just the sort of workflow for the prototypal version of it. So I hope that's been interesting. But noirnerd, like and subscribe, and yeah, I'm sort of interested in feedback. Obviously the whole thing is sort of like does require a little bit of technical knowledge, and there will be some. It's not like as easy as say an engine as say, well, Unity's not exactly simple, but you know it's a very different workflow as it were. But anyway, I'll leave it there. Bye.